Are you a busy mom with a full heart, craving a sense of liberation, ease, and delicious fulfillment in mind, body, soul, and life? Welcome to Your Well Life podcast, where we help moms like you reclaim optimal well-being, align with your truest self, and find harmony in life, all with ease and flow. I'm your host, Misha Vayner, a mom of 3 who went from hustling NYC fashion girl to trauma-informed holistic health and life coach, living the slow, soul-nourishing life. Together, we'll dive into raw, unfiltered conversations that spark mindset shifts and offer practical tools for navigating motherhood, health, and relationships, all through a shame-free, trauma-informed lens. You ready, mama? Let's go. Hi, friends. Welcome to another episode of Your Well Life. I am so excited for today's episode because today we are going deep. I am going to be sharing about a really powerful, alchemical, expansive experience I recently did. And that is I did a psilocybin journey. And I know that some of you may not know what that is, why you do it, what you can gain from it, what the experience is like. There's so many questions that I know I had and how I even figured this out, whatever. So basically, I'm going to go into it all today, like how I discovered about this to be a option for what it is that I wanted, what it can do for you, what you need, who to explore working with, things to consider, what my experience was like, and what I gained from it, because holy shit, it was huge. Okay. And also first, I just want to say that I want you to know that any questions that you have, we have a hotline that is coming that you guys can send in questions with. So that's going to be coming soon. In the meantime, feel free to email me at mishavayner.com or just DM me on Instagram. I am more than happy to answer any questions here on the podcast. In fact, that's what I want to do. I want this to be an ongoing conversation with you guys where it's not just like me speaking into a vortex. This is really through me sharing, for it to be a way to help you see where you may be experiencing similar things, and it help you make shifts and unlock codes and unlock places of stuckness, help you realize where you can make shifts that would be, sorry, I'm going to turn my thing off, that would help you be more aligned to in your body and your life, help you realize things that you may not have even considered by me sharing something that I'm navigating and on. You get the point. But the point is, know that if when I'm sharing this, you have more questions, please ask. I want to hear from you. And obviously get on my newsletter because I share more in there, etc. Okay, cool. So why I decided to do psilocybin, what led me to even this. And eventually you guys will hear my entire story. It's something I'm still working on parsing out to you guys, but essentially I have some really deep blocks that stem from the way I was raised. And I just want to start by saying I'm not a victim. My sharing of my wounds is not for me to be viewed as a victim or woe is me. We all have things that we're working on healing, all of us. It's just a matter of what my sort of stuff is. And also, I do believe that every wound, every pattern, everything that we've either inherited or experienced or that's quote unquote happened to us or happened for us, shall I say, is really part of our unique soul curriculum. It's here to invite us into a pathway of expansion, into an initiation for breaking a bigger cycle that is happening in our lineage, in the collective, and in ourselves. And it's also a opportunity for us to strengthen our resilience. Buddhist monks actually pray for challenges because they see it as an opportunity to strengthen and access a new level of enlightenment. We need the struggle and the challenge and the darkness in order to appreciate the light. And listen, I'm not pretending that anyone wants to be in struggle, but what I am saying is that We all have our own unique versions of what it is that we're here to learn. And we can either see that, we can either be the victim and see that as something that, woe is me, and that happened to us, and let it define us and let it take us down. Or we can see it as a gift. We can see it as these are opportunities where these people or experiences came in essentially as angels on our path to reflect places where we need to find new places to grow and heal. And some of it's, I definitely understand that it can be really hard when you're in the throes of it, when it's something so fucking deep, so painful. I get it. I've been through a lot of things that you guys will learn. And my invitation is for you to realize that no one is due. I deeply believe that everyone comes into this world good. And I feel that nobody intentionally is causing harm. I feel that the harm that is caused, I'm not saying that no one does things that are harmful and that causes harm, but I think it all stems from wounded spaces. And I think that nobody desires to have those wounds. And I think that the more that we can recognize that everyone is there, everyone, including ourselves, we're also potentially causing harm at times unintentionally. And when we can, that's what trauma healing and understanding how to live in a trauma-informed way, what that gives us, right? It gives us what it is, and it gives us the ability to recognize that everyone is coming into this world with our own lenses based on our own lived experiences, our own patterns, our own traumas, our own biases, that even if we want to be the most conscious and pure human, we are looking through a lens from our own space, and so it's that continuously challenging both ourselves to recognize how we can observe our own biases and patterns and look at ourselves objectively. We have this thing as humans called metacognition, which is the ability to view ourselves and observe our own patterns, which other animals don't have, which is a huge gift. And it's also that ability to witness others from that space of recognizing when what the spaces are coming from. It doesn't mean that people are absolved of not having to take responsibility. It doesn't mean we don't have to take accountability. It doesn't mean that no one is wrong or causing harm. It's simply an understanding and a level of awareness around the fact that everyone here is coming into the world with a desire to be loved, and also with their own wounds. And the way that things get effed up along the way is from those experiences that come from those wounded spaces. Okay, that was a very long tangent, but either way, I grew up with, and I really, as you can tell, I'm tiptoeing around getting to the point, which is why it's taken me so long to do this podcast, because I love my parents, okay? My parents they're Indian, and they came here. I'm a second generation Indian woman. I was born here in Canada and raised in the US. My parents are of Indian origin, and they have their own deep cultural conditioning and their own, which we're not going to get into their whole stories. But the point is, they came here, and in my upbringing, based on their own stuff and based on also the fact that my sister was adopted. And I'm sure that initially my mom was told by every doctor she would not be able to have a child. She would not be able to carry a child till full term if she could get pregnant, because she had a surgery in the 70s for something that once she was done with that surgery, they said, you're not going to be able to have kids. You're not going to be able to get pregnant. And if you are able to get pregnant, you're not going to be able to carry till full term. She ended up adopting my sister. And then after my sister was adopted, she got, quote unquote, unexpectedly pregnant with me. It was told the whole time that I wouldn't make it, but here I am. And I believe in every part of me that it was the stress that prevented her. I believe everything comes back to stress and trauma, and you'll learn that as you continue to listen to my podcast and learn about the work that I do. But point is, I believe that it was the stress of not being able to have a kid that impacted her ability to fully get pregnant and then carry. And then when she had the baby and she felt at peace and the stress was gone, look what happened. Anyway, the point is, I bring this up because I deeply believe that my parents, I think that they never wanted my sister to feel like she didn't belong. I think that it came from a place of wanting my sister to feel so included and wanting her to feel so comfortable and never wanting her to feel like any less than. But with the results, I grew up for that reason, as well as a whole host of other reasons that we won't get into right here, right now, but with a conditioning and a belief that I didn't matter, that nothing I could do was good enough, and that my voice didn't matter. A lot of this also came from, my authoritarian Indian father, who I love, is such an incredible caretaker. And also in the Indian culture, it's hierarchical. There's also like women are subservient. You don't speak up, you don't speak back. There was a lot of messaging around, me being an idiot, me not knowing what I was talking about, me essentially not, my being was essentially a inconvenience. I was not allowed to take up space. Actually, hold that thought. I'm going to just get a paper of something I wrote when I was on the journey. Everything about me was an inconvenience. And to the point that anytime I would talk, I would get cut off. I wasn't even used to anyone listening to me speak and actually hearing, processing, and responding in a healthy way my whole life. Until I dated my husband and I listened to, I don't want to get into that, but the point is, it was a foreign concept for someone to want to hear what I want to say, to actually listen, and for it to matter. I was always cut off mid-sentence. I was talked over. I was told to shut up. It was a lot. Okay. So anyway, point is these wounds, and then on top of it, based on a whole bunch of things, I've literally gotten the message that I don't matter. My love was conditional. Again, it's not because my parents don't want to love me unconditionally and don't believe that they're loving me to the best that they have the ability, but it was conditional. And I don't want to get into a whole thing about bashing my parents, because that's literally not the point of this. It is hard for me to express my wounds from my upbringing without it seeming like I'm taking them down, which is why it's taken me so long to share this, but the point is this is my experience. And I had a deep rooted belief for a whole bunch of reasons and a whole bunch of experiences and behaviors and conditioning and stuff that were so deeply rooted in my existence doesn't matter, and I'm basically a nuisance. And that is so painful, to feel as though your parents don't love you and that you don't matter. And it was to the point where I've done the amount of healing work I've done, the amount of constant healing work I've done. It was name it, I've done it. And I was at a place where I just have this gaping hole in my heart where it felt like I didn't know how to function, not because I couldn't. I'm an independent woman. I have a family. We're independent, and I have children and a husband and a job and all the things. But it was this feeling based on my upbringing that when I'm in contact with them, I deal with such extreme layers of pain of various levels of damaging experiences, emotionally damaging and abusive experiences. But then when I'm in touch with them, it feels extremely painful and violating and damaging. When I'm not in touch with them, I feel extreme guilt and shame, and it felt and a huge gaping hole in my heart. And I felt like I was in this place where nothing made sense. I did not know how to navigate my relationship with them. I had tried every type of boundary, releasing all sorts of expectations. I had tried everything, but specifically based on the way I was raised and a lot of the layers of it and the unique dynamic between myself and my family and my parents, and based on a lot of the cultural narratives and their own trauma patterns and the things, it was a very tough thing. And that plus I've always known I've had this deep need to share my voice, and not just share it for the sake of it, but like I know, like even from my human design, and if you don't know what human design is, listen to the first episode with Erin Claire Jones. It's freaking transformational. It'll help you understand how to live in alignment and in flow to your unique talents and gifts in a way that is wild and mind-blowing and permission-giving and transformational. But anyway, I know that as a 3/6 line, I am, first of all, here to be the guide and the model to, I go through all of the different things, and I'm here to show other people through my storytelling, through my own experiences of sharing the behind the scenes of what I've been through. I'm here to show people through my lived experiences and share the behind the scenes, how I've navigated it, and just share from that place of how I skillfully navigate all of these unique experiences through my articulation, through the way that I move through, because of just like that, through that, it is illuminating and transformational for other people. They get insights and ahas and healing that they wouldn't otherwise get. I'm a natural storyteller. I am here to have gone through so many different things that most people haven't. I've tried it all, and I'm supposed to continue to reflect back through those experiences. These are the insights. This is what I've learned. And I've always felt this deep pull to share in my voice and in my writing and out with the world, but I had such deep blocks around it. And because I felt I had all of these stories that like no one wants to hear. It's so unworthy. It's unsafe. Also because I launched a retail concept store that was a huge, expansive moment where I pushed through so many blocks and so many naysayers and so much conditioning. And I had my name in lights in a 2,200 square foot store on the Bowery. And it was a visionary concept. And it was in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and all these things. And I got a $5 million lawsuit. And that's a whole other story for another day. But the point is, while again, it was another beautiful initiation into me being able to see where I contributed to that and how I get to strengthen my inner self to not invite those situations in. And I'm so grateful for everything that came from it. It was a world shattering, health shattering. It was my rock bottom moment. It led me to a complete health and life breakdown. And so even though I've done a lot of the healing and cognitively, I know it was a great gift. And I even feel that the person that sued me is an angel. And I even reached out to him to be on my podcast and all the things. My body still has a memory of how traumatic that was. And so it has so much fear in expanding again in that way. It lives inside my body, even though I've done so much alchemical work. And then also around not wanting to shame my family, not wanting to put anything toxic or negative out there, because that's not what I want. I love my parents. They've done so much amazing stuff for me. They don't mean it. It's not their fault. It's just, this is my experience. And it's what I viscerally feel and have experienced from their own wounding. And I never want to. So all this to say, I was in this inner battle, so much inner strife of this deep pull and need and desire and like beyond a calling. Like it's my purpose to share my stories so other people could heal. It is my purpose to speak my voice. And it is also for my own healing that I speak my voice so that I can get the resonance and the evidence in my mind and body that no, you won't die. You're not going to be exiled. People are not going to come for you. It is what the world needs. But I had this crazy tightening in my body that was preventing me from doing it. And then also the conditioning around, in order for you to share, it needs to be like 3 steps to it, or it needs to be in a course, or it needs to be packaged in this way, or it needs to be packaged in that way. And none of that fucking mattered to me. I'm like, I just want to storytell. I just want to speak. I know through me sharing in my writing, in my podcast, in my work, it is going to be healing. Was a broadcast journalism major in college. I interned for a radio station in high school. I interned for someone who had a podcast in 2016. give it up for Megan Francis of the Mom Hour, who I just heard, I think they're closing down their podcast. I have podcast recordings for this from 2019 that I didn't actually ever push play on. Why? Because for the past 10 years, which my lawsuit was 12 years ago, I have had a huge constriction, like it's like the tightness in my throat and my body. And so I've been in this inner tug of war with me really being like, what the fuck do I need to do to break the fuck out and expand into what I know I'm here to do? What do I need to do to heal this deep gaping wound with my family that won't go away, where I was literally curled up in a ball in tears for weeks on weeks, like crippling in pain with like sadness because of this gaping hole I have in my heart of just, not feeling like I have a family that loves me. And I know cognitively they're loving me the best that they can, but in my body, there is no worse feeling. Like I deeply feel that there is no more, listen, I'm sure that there is, but to me and my experience, the biggest form of neglect is your child not feeling deeply seen and getting unconditional love and them knowing that you hear and feel and see them and that you are there for them. And so I say that because what drew me to wanting this is I was stuck in these two places of becoming a certified trauma-informed healer, becoming a certified trauma-informed teacher, having done decades of therapy, having done human design, astrology, like EMDR, somatic work, tantric work, ancestral healing, what else? Name it, breath work, like everything. And it was like this crippling pain in my body about my family. And then the other piece of it was this hold of me being every day being like, I'm going to expand and fully share myself unapologetically with the world, and contracting and not being able to do it. And I was like, I cannot live inside this body filled with fear and shutdown and constriction anymore. This fucking blows. Like I need the shackles to be off. I need the pain to be gone. I need to feel completely absolved this wound inside of me, and I need to feel liberated. And so I had heard, so those of you who are Bravo fans like me, you'll know everything leads back to Bravo, but it's so funny because obviously I've known about plant medicine journeys for a while, and ayahuasca and psilocybin, and I've seen all the shows and all the things, but like the timing of watching Southern Charm and hearing Shep talk about how he did an ayahuasca journey, and I knew I'd seen from the previous season what like a hot mess he was, and then he went on this ayahuasca journey and he seemed like he was like completely different, and I'm like, I like picked up on that vibration, and I was like, wait, I need to look into ayahuasca. I need to do something that it was like literally gonna blow like this shit out of me. I knew that I needed something that was going to help me access a higher level of consciousness, a higher power. I knew that there was a confinement, because if I were to coach myself, I could access I know well enough to be able to tell myself, you are still loved. That is not what your parents mean. Like the Mama Gaia is always holding you. The universe has always got you. You are love. That blah, 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 blah. I know as it relates to the shackles, I would have told anyone to be like, if I were coaching, it was my client, I would have been like, you need to lean into it. You need to know that you're held. You need to try it. You need to do it messy. You need to do. I know what to say. And I've done these things in a lot of different ways, but I just knew that I was at this point where I needed to blast. I needed something bigger. And every year, pretty much, I integrate a new aspect of like new layers of healing. Like 2 years ago, I did a whole tantric weekend, which you'll hear about. I did ancestral healing. Like this year, I'm actually doing EMDR. I just did this psilocybin thing the year before. Each year, I do something like pretty major and different in the world of like healing and spirituality, and integrate that. And I spend time doing it. And I was like, this year is the time to rip that shit out. And I think that through exploring a plant medicine journey, and I also just felt this call. And that's what I hear from people who are facilitators of plant medicine, is just like, you need to, it's like this calling. You just feel this connection to this desire. And if I'm honest, so I'm someone, just for reference, I don't drink caffeine, I don't smoke weed, I don't drink alcohol, I don't take any synthetic drugs, I don't take Xanax, sleeping pills, I've never have antidepressants, nothing, okay? I don't do birth control, none of these things. My body is so sensitive, and I like being in my true authentic self. I find that when you are really tapped in, it is like being fucking high. It is the most magical thing. And I think the more that you like actually learn how to access like your true feminine power, your most blissful states, you learn how to live in flow, you release a lot of that stuff, you can really feel lit the fuck up in who you are today right now without having to alter your consciousness. And also, I do know, so the one thing that I did used to do when I was in high school is I did used to do shrooms. And I remember, because I have always been inherently a very tapped in spiritual person. And I remember, and I'm not just saying this, I remember feeling like I was accessing wisdom and insights that when I was shrooming, that I would not have been able to access if I was conscious, and being like blown away and coming back to like reality with like wildly different perspectives. So I do believe that's true. And so I was really called to explore like what more about this. And so I started to ask around friends and people that I know that do it. And immediately, like right after I started to get curious, I remembered that this amazing couple, Lauren Harkness, who, by the way, I had on the podcast. If you haven't listened, we did a whole episode about how she is a tantric facilitator. She's also an incredible medicine woman. She is a jewelry designer. She is just an all-around incredible person, but she is the person that we did an episode on how to unlock your sort of like power and healing through tantric work. I'm forgetting the exact title, but she and her partner Russell, who is like a shaman, who is an energy worker, like all of these things. I have done various things with them before. I attended a retreat she did. I have taken a program she did called Erotic Sovereignty. I have been in their energy, and they are extremely safe. Like, they are like filled with so much wisdom and insight. They are so skilled at what they do. They are such grounded individuals. They provide such a safe and healing presence, and I trust them implicitly. And when I remembered that they lead medicine journeys, I was like, oh my God, they're the people. So I reached out to them, and they were like, and I actually didn't even think about psilocybin. It didn't even occur to me. I actually reached out to them trying to inquire about ayahuasca. Let me just take a breath. Hold on a second. I'm going to drink some water. And so I asked them about the ayahuasca. Hang on one second. So I asked them about an ayahuasca journey, and they were telling me about it. And while I don't want to, listen, I'm not the person, but it sounds like a much more intense, and it's like experience, a bigger commitment, and like a little bit more the energy to me. And this is probably not like the actual thing, but I got this feeling of this like a stronger, more masculine, more like violent experience. I don't know. That's not how they described it, but it just felt like a real big commitment and like a big sort of jump from being so pure and not used to taking like anything to like going all the way there. And especially given that one of my clients gave me like a mushroom chocolate bar, like a bar with like microdose of mushroom chocolate situation. And I took like literally 2 squares. I guess you were only supposed to take 1. And I was like literally wanted it to get out of my body. Like I was just like, I never want to feel out of my body again because I took too much. And so point of what I'm saying, and that's how I feel when I drink too much caffeine. If I drink caffeine, which I don't, but I'm saying if I drank caffeine, I want it out of my body, like immediately. So for someone who's that sensitive, to go from nothing to ayahuasca sounds like a lot, but then they were telling me that they do these psilocybin journeys, which are a perfect sort of segue first step to dip your toe in. And also they were explaining that ayahuasca is more of a personal inward journey versus like psilocybin is like a mix of can be social and inward. But anyway, the way that they do the psilocybin journey is like they host these experiences where you're basically, it's like a 5 or 6 hour journey and gets out of your system by that evening. Like you're sober by the evening, 24 hours after you've taken it, it's like fully out of your system. And psilocybin is a type of mushroom. There are different types. I don't remember. I actually emailed Russell and Lauren to get the clarity around like the specific name and all the details. So maybe I'll add that onto this episode if I get it in time. But basically, it's a journey that you do that they guide together in a group experience, which I'll tell you about in a second. And so I felt that this was and they happened to have one. I talked to them, I think it was like the beginning of January, and they're like, we're doing one February 9th. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to do it. So here's what the experience was like. Before the experience, we had like an intake call where, well, first of all, we had this long call where like I even talked to them about like how sensitive my constitution is, which they already knew from doing stuff with me. And they were like, dose you really properly and like all of that. But we had a very long intake call about what my intentions were, like what I wanted to get at. Or first it was like a pre-call about understanding about the medicine and why I wanted to do it. And they were explaining where they source it from and how all of the different things that somebody would want to know. They answered any questions. It was so great. And then before it, we did an intake call because it was like a week before and I had all sorts of feelings coming up. And I was so nervous because in the past I've had experiences where I've done something really like deep healing and it's thrown my entire system off and it's just fucked me up. Like I did an ancestral healing journey before we were moving and it was so powerful. I kid you not. You guys have to hear about this. I'm going to actually put it on the podcast. But it was so powerful in positive ways, but it also, because I blew out my nervous system because I'd done tantric work before it and I was like really lit up and open from that. And then I did the ancestral healing session on top of it unintentionally. I'll explain how that happened in another episode. But the point is, it literally, I was on my entire system shut down and I could not move. I had a fever. My whole left side of my body was, and that's a whole other story. Don't get scared. I'll fill you in. But the point is like, when you are doing deep healing work, you need to be conscious of honoring your capacity and your constitution and making sure you're doing what it is that is going to be supportive and not too much for you to handle. And so I had a lot of fear around being like having an experience like that, not being able to show up for my kids or my business or my family and being completely shut down, getting really sick. I also had, like I said, that experience where I'd taken mushroom chocolate and I just wanted it out of my system. And I just didn't want something like that. So I was like having a lot of anxiety. We had a call and they were like, basically coached me through it. And we had awareness around the fact that, first of all, like how to create, what to be mindful of like afterwards as it relates to like my integration and my lifestyle and what not to put on my calendar and how not, like, I'm not going to now go do EMDR after. I'm not going to go do an ancestral healing session or family constellations like right after I do this. Like we're going to take a beat. We're going to slow down. I also, like I said, I was like moving right after I did those other things, like a huge family move, like not going to do that after. First of all, just having that awareness. Second of all, the dosing, like making sure the dosing is right. Also knowing that this is really an invitation for me to learn how to face my like pattern around like needing to stay in control, and what does that look like, and how do I work through that? But really also like leaning into trust, leaning into the fact that I'm like being called to do this. I signed up for it for a reason, recognizing that they are not like outsourcing my power, but recognizing that I've communicated all the things, like we're gonna go super slow, I'm in good hands, and all the things. So oh my God, I feel like this is gonna have to be like a 2-part episode. Anyway, so then comes the day of the event, and it's so funny because I was like so not in a good place mentally. I don't remember what was going on, but I don't remember. I was tired. I had without getting into it, I was not in a good place. There was a crazy snowstorm. I wasn't sure if it was going to be whatever. Point is, went in, and so the way it worked was it was in their apartment in the city. I think there were total of 8 people. I think there maybe 9, but point is there was like about 6 participants and then the 3 facilitators, so call it 9, give or take. And you come to their apartment, very clear on my intentions, which are the 2 things that I mentioned earlier. One was me having this gaping hole around not being fully loved based on like my relationship with my caregivers, not feeling like I mattered, and really wanting to come home to myself, to really like release and feel whole again from that gaping wound, and really do what I could to get clarity around how to like kind of release and absolve that. And then the second piece was, because of those runes, it's affecting my expansion and the way it's affecting my abundance and my career and my purpose and my life. And so I wanted to figure out how to become whole there, and then also allow that to spill out into my expansion in my life, in my throat chakra, in my writing, in my expression, and my fullest expression of myself. So that was my intention. Then they gave us obviously they set the container, and they had it set up where it was like very comfortable, because like there's lots of pillows and all the things. And they had one station where it was like more of the common space where you stay if you want to be like in a common area or have conversation, or you're okay with whatever. And then there was like a separate room where you could go if you wanted to be alone and in your own energy and like fully inward. And you were told not to eat. So it started at 12. You were not supposed to eat for 7 hours before. So you went like pretty fasted. Then they gave you first, I forget what supplement. I want to say it was ginger, but don't quote me. I'll confirm later once I get the clarity from him. But they gave us like some supplement. I know it wasn't ginger, because they said it was some sort of adaptogen. And we took the adaptogen, and like it was like in a capsule form, 2 of them, I think, which I'll confirm what it was. And then we ate lemon with it. And then that was like, I guess, to help it be absorbed. And then they did the container setting. Everyone had their own bottles of water. And then after the container setting, they called each one of us up for our own dose, of which I had a half of whatever the whole thing was. And then they gave us orange slices to have with it. I guess that helps it be absolved too. And initially on the journey, I was like seeing a lot of like psychedelic stuff like in my mind. Like it was just like as if I was looking through a kaleidoscope, and I was in a very inward place. Now, energetically even, it was like I can even feel from like a energetic standpoint, I was in a very there was so much shame around. I was carrying so much shame. It was like literally you could visibly see the way I felt inside around being scared to express myself. It was like I was literally in a ball, like not wanting to be seen. I had a cover over me, and I was just bawling inside. And in my head and in my heart, I just had this feeling like I just don't want anyone to see me. And I was hysterical crying. And while I don't remember every detail, I remember that it was really fucking dark. And had this visceral reminder around being told by my sister that she was chosen and I was an accident, and that I was never meant to be here. And that was a story I got a lot growing up from her. And that was the complete essence of the energy of which I grew up in. And I'll never forget this one time of me saying to my sister, after she said it to me so many times, I remember saying, but you were given away, as a response after not saying anything for so long because my feelings were hurt, obviously, and me getting completely annihilated, but she never got anything. And it was like I was constantly at fault and no one should ever hurt her, but it didn't matter if my feelings were hurt. And I was in so much pain. And I had this whole belief of, I even have this paper in front of me of things I wrote at some point in my journey, that I was in this dark space where it's like, you were never meant to be here. You are an accident. You are an inconvenience. Your being is an inconvenience when you take up space. You annoy people. When you take up space, you make your parents uncomfortable. It's not about you, Misha. It's never about you. Because that's a story I always got too. It's like nothing. It's not about you. It's about everyone else. Like, you don't matter. I even went to this place of, what if I change my name? Which, by the way, at the beginning of the journey, they were saying something and they were asking us to say our names. And this was say our names out loud. And it was to really help us anchor into like our being. And I remember I could not say my name without crying because I have so much shame. And I started to feel like you shouldn't exist. And I started to, I was like, it's never about you. What if I change my name? My entire being no longer feels like it fits. And before I go on to more things, I want to speak more about just this piece of, I was in this deep, dark place. I went really dark into, you were never meant to be here. Your existence is literally doesn't matter and is a problem. And I went so deep into it that it was when I felt to the extent of how I felt, I said out loud that I didn't want to be there. And I remember even it feeling such deep pain to the point that like I was like practically convulsing, and it was like I wouldn't have been able to feel that level of pain in my conscious mind because it would have felt too unsafe to let myself feel that way. It was so dark, so painful but I needed to, in a sick way, I like wanted to feel it because I needed to feel it to heal it. I needed to let myself go there because I even know that even when I felt the level of pain that I felt, I also felt shame and guilt for feeling it, because it was almost like I would have never let myself feel that level of pain because I never want to, by feeling that level of pain, it's almost there's an overcoupling and a connection with me shaming my parents of feeling that way, which is something I never wanted to do. So it's almost like a self-protection mechanism within a self-protection mechanism of not feeling that way because you don't want to upset anyone. It's that deep. So I had to be on this medicine to allow myself to literally spiral in this upending way. Meanwhile, I'm in a common area under a blanket, like snotting it up. I can't tell you how many, I was going through like toilet paper after toilet paper roll. And then at some point, because somebody in the room was like doing something that was like fucking up my flow. And truthfully, I was in the common area, and it was from the beginning that I wanted to just be alone, but I was just too even stuck in my bubble it was almost like when you feel so like you want to disappear that you don't even want to move because you feel like by moving, you're like even taking up more space than you even want to, and you don't want to be noticed. And so it was like this deep thing where I was in this spiral. I was like, I don't want to be in this person's energy. I don't even want to be here, but I don't want to move because I can't move. It was like this paralyzing, crazy thing. And then I eventually extracted myself and went to the other room and then I went into this place where I was writing all of this stuff that I was just reading to you. And then, and I went to this place of, I'm never going to recover from having parents that don't see me or love me fully and wholly. The wounding is so deep, and I don't feel like I'm allowed to fully feel it. And I felt like I was in that gaping hard space for so long and then eventually I started to talk to Russell, and without getting into every detail, I had this realization through talking to him talking to him about how incredible my husband is and how much he loves me so much. And I've literally, the level of unconditional love and witnessing and seeing and support that John gives me is unfucking paralleled. I have literally never met or witnessed a human that is able to love so selflessly and be as strong of a partner as John is in my life. I've never seen it. He is the best. And so much so that, and I'll talk about this in another episode, I tried to push him away for so long because it was so uncomfortable for me to receive his love. And my traumatized body didn't know how to attune to a body that was so safe. For so long, I thought he wasn't the fit for me and all that stuff. But that's another story. The point is, I started to realize through talking to Russell that while I don't believe I'll ever heal from, I'll ever not have the wound from for not having the love and the witnessing and the attunement from my caregivers that I needed to feel whole. What I do have is the most incredible husband that gives me everything that I could have ever wanted and more. And this was huge because it helped me realize, first of all, through me, and I'm jumping around because I want to be able to give you actual insights and solutions that are on the other side. And I know I could go on to all the details forever, but to finish this part of the thread, what it gave me when I came out of it was this realization that, first of all, after I came out of the journey, which I'm going to go back to finishing it, but on this thread, because I allowed myself to so deeply feel and completely release and break the fuck down and allowed myself to feel the depth of the pain that was there and then hold myself and be held by Russell and be reminded of the love that I have from John, I came out of there with a huge level of neutrality around my parents in the situation. Like that gaping hole, that debilitating pain, that sadness that I was holding, that was living inside of me, is very much alchemized. It's a lot of it is, I don't want to say gone, but I would say it's substantially neutralized. I don't have the charge as much. I don't have the pain as much. It feels much, much more healed. And I feel such a sort of expansion and an increase of capacity to both receive love and give love and hold, because I've alchemized and processed out so much of that I'm able to fully and deeply love my husband and my kids and hold so much that's going on in our life, but also feel the bliss and the expansion of actually receiving the love that John has for me and that my kids have for me and that I have for them in another way that I couldn't before, because I was so blocked by my own wounds, by my own pain. And so that was massive. And then the second piece of it was, as it relates to my voice and my expansion and my liberation through sharing, and me initially feeling like I needed to continue to, my work needed to fit into these societal constructs that I was like, but that's not, I'm a fucking creative. I am a storyteller. I am a person, I'm a medicine woman. I'm a woman who has lived through so much and is really attunely equipped to see what other people are experiencing, to feel it deeply, be able to not only skillfully guide people through their own healing and awakening with specific tools and insights, because I've been there and because I have this this wisdom inside of me, but I also am here to just fully express and share myself and my wisdom and my stories and my learnings as a form of art, as a form of awakening and healing and permission and hope for other people. And And when I realized through talking to Russell, like, he reflected back to me like how much I was healing from communicating with him and talking through things with him, which I already knew. I am a verbal processor. It's also in my human design, but him reflecting it back to me and in that moment, and because I was at that breaking point of him being like, you need to do this for your own healing, it had this aha where I'm like, fuck everything. I need to do this for my own healing. This is my fucking Xanax. This is my I don't care I know I need to do this. Like, I know. And it is, I can't, and if I'm not doing what is here for my highest self or for my own liberation and transformation and up leveling, then what the fuck am I doing here? That is the whole point of my life. And so I need to do this for me. Yes, I know that through me doing this is going to help other people. The way will come as to how I'm going to make it into whatever it needs to be. But forgetting all of that, beyond anything, I need to do this for me. This is the self-care I need. This is the gift I get to give myself. And it is free. It is not buying anything. It is me expressing. And it is me modeling this for anyone else that needs it and for my kids. And so I came out of there. And guess what? I came out of there on Sunday, and on Wednesday, I launched my podcast that I had been like literally desiring to do for 10 years. I was literally, it's been living inside of me, and we hit publish. We put it out in the world. And I closed a membership I had been running with women that I love, because I knew that right now I need to focus on this, on my expression. And I know that with being a self-projected projector, also my human design, I know that I have and as a mom of 3, running a household and running a business and all the things, like, I only have so much capacity. And I know that right now, even though that meant like saying no to business, it meant like quieting the people pleaser inside of me who wanted to say yes to these women that want to continue. It was hard because I know I love these women and I really want to help. And I know that I have been kicking the can for so long by doing these like coaching programs and doing all these things that, yes, I love to do, but also are deep down also are a little bit of a distraction from me leaning into what it is that I need to do. That are also, it's easier to coach other people and have, when you haven't gotten you haven't gotten external validation from your family and you're getting it from your clients telling you how they're transformed. That is probably also feeding into it, not on a conscious level, on a subconscious level. But I know that for me to really double down on my highest service, I need to put the blinders on. I need to like literally say no to anything that is preventing me from, that is either a distraction or is taking me out of honoring this thing. And so I did a really hard thing. I did the psilocybin journey on Tuesday and on Sunday. And on Monday, I decided that I was going to close this membership. I decided to wait on it a day because I knew that I was still integrating and I didn't want to make rash decisions. Tuesday, I decided to close it. And since making that decision, so much expansion has come. So many ideas of ways that I want to share in a bigger way. So many offers I want to give to the world that do feel in alignment. So many ways I want to serve. I want to write a book. Like it could, and I feel the shackles that have lived around my neck and inside my body having released. And it's all from just this one journey, this one psilocybin journey that I did on one Sunday. And it's because it allowed me to go so deep into my shit. It allowed me to really feel and go there, but combined with incredible facilitation by people that like knew how to. Russell came to me several times as he saw me and my stuff and like lovingly, while very honoring my process, but also knowing how to guide me to the places I needed to be guided in order to get the access to the wisdom and the shifts that I needed. And Lauren is incredible too, and she was facilitating and supporting other people in other ways. But it was huge. They're doing another one the first weekend of April. They also do private sessions. They do, like I said, ayahuasca, other things. They are incredible. I will include their information in the show notes, and I'm also going to let them know that. But anyway, I digress. That is my psilocybin journey. It was epic. What Lauren says is that and I forgot to mention that like towards the end of it, they served like chicken soup and avocado, like stuff to help you like clean, healthy food that would allow you to like finally nourish yourself because you hadn't eaten for a long time. It was really huge. But John picked me up at 6:30 or I don't know, something like that. And I was talking normal. It was a Super Bowl. I went home. I was hanging out with my kids. Like literally, I was fine. The next day I was really tired, but that's also because I stayed up late and I had gone through so much like crying. I looked like I got hit by a truck. I had a busy weekend the night before. I had been up a couple. Point is, I was fine. It's Thursday right now after the journey, and I'm recording this. But what she says is they say that once you start the process, it's helpful to do a couple of more because once the wound is open. So anyway, I really recommend. I think it was huge for me, and I would love to hear if this was helpful for you. If you have questions about it, what came up for you, what ahas you have, and what else can I say? Yeah, I would love to hear. Yeah, I would just love to hear anything from you. Post it, please. And if you liked hearing this, please leave a review, leave feedback wherever you listen to podcasts. If you think there's a friend that would benefit from it, please share it with a friend. Share it on your Instagram stories and tag me. I really would love for this work to get out to as many women as possible. So yeah. Oh, and I have a private Facebook group. And it's free, and it's where I want to continue this conversation. So that link will be in the show notes as well. Please join the Facebook group. Please share your insights and questions there. We can connect there. DM me on Instagram at Misha Vayner. And I also have private coaching available if that's something you're interested in. So yes, thank you so much for listening. Lots of love. All right, friends, what'd you think? I really hope you enjoyed listening and got value from this episode of Your Well Life. If you did, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review so we can spread the word to more mamas who can benefit from this content. It's truly my deepest mission to help as many mamas out there feel empowered, aligned, and in flow in their bodies and lives through this podcast. And even just sharing with one friend who you think can benefit helps. Want more from me? Well, then don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you can get notified each time a new episode drops. Oh, and make sure to get on my newsletter list where I send out weekly emails to support, nourish, and inspire you. And follow me on Instagram where I'm the most active and share behind the scenes of my day-to-day life and insights I have along the way. I'm at Misha Vayner. I'm truly so grateful that you chose to spend your time with me and really hope to have you join along next week. Same time, same place. Bye for now.